I'm really honored to begin one of the most anticipated moments of our conference today. We have a keynote address on how women are shaping the future of India and can be at the center of India's growth story. Uh, it is my honor to welcome a leader who has redefined public service with purpose, conviction, and impact, Ms. Smriti Irani. With over 25 years of experience in governance and policy making, Ms. Irani has been at the forefront of some of India's most transformative government initiatives. As a senior cabinet minister, she has led major portfolios including education, textiles, women and child development, and minority affairs, with a focus on innovation, inclusion, and institutional reform. She has been a trailblazer in driving digital transformation, empowering marginalized communities, and placing gender equity at the center of national development agenda. Her work reflects not only political acumen, but a deep commitment to sustainable and systemic change. Today, as we reflect on the future of inclusion and women's leadership, there could be no better voice than her. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Smriti Irani. Smriti ma'am, over to you.
Namaskar from New Delhi, and my gratitude to the opening remarks given about me and my career trajectory. I wish I was amongst you today to speak in person about the capacity, the potential of women in India. But alas, due to unforeseen circumstances, I join you today digitally, and I look forward to a time where I can interact, interface with each one of you on any questions or conversations that you deem fit to ensue about India's potential and particularly the potential of Indian women. Today, when we speak about the women of India, there are many who believe that the women of India is but just a chapter in India's growth story. But that's not true. Women are no longer designated to just one chapter. They're, in fact, the turning point of transformation in India. So, as I begin my very short remarks, my appeal is only this. We know that women bring about transformative change, not only for their own individual families, but also communities that they are a part of. And I hope after today's interaction, you leave behind with a promise that when you see an Indian woman, trust her. If she has an enterprise, then fund her and follow her if you believe in her leadership. There are many who believe that the potential truly of Indian women has come to the fore a decade ago when Prime Minister Modi took office. But India, which is one of the oldest civilizations in the world, can proudly say that in our battle to gain independence came one voice resolute of a woman who chose to lead an army of men on horseback with a child tied to her back and a sword raised in the hopes of getting freedom. That woman being Rani Lakshmi Bai, the quintessential harbinger not only of the strength of the Indian woman, but the multifaceted life that every Indian woman leads. Today, as I speak to you of a new India, a Viksit Bharat that we all work towards in the year 2047, what are the new foundations that women in India laid a decade ago? Remember this, that we are a civilization that has, for centuries, celebrated the financial potential of women and called them Lakshmi. But the true potential in modern economies of women can be unleashed when they have an interface with financial institutions. And that is what exactly happened when the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, started a campaign called Jan Dhan. The promise was that every Indian who'd never had an interface with a financial institution like a bank would get, for the first time in their living life, a bank account. For many in the nation that I'm speaking to, having a bank account may not seem like such a challenge. But in India, we had seen decades where the poor were disenfranchised from such an interface, all because they could not afford the minimum balance in a bank. Lo and behold, when the government of India said, let's bring together a link between the Treasury of India and the people of India, banks across the country responded to the clarion call. As a result of this, 550 million Indians for the first time, along with banks across India, participated in this financial revolution. As a result of this, 250 million Indian women could open their bank accounts for the first time in their lives. This was just a beginning. The Prime Minister proffered to the country a program called Mudra Yojana. Mind you, this was not a gendered financial intervention, but the promise given to the people that if you have an entrepreneurial streak or such an aptitude, the government of India will ensure that you get a collateral free loan from the bank. When such a program was announced, never did anybody ever imagine the sheer force and potential of Indian female entrepreneurship that will come to the fore. As a result of the Mudra Yojana, 300 million Indian women receive bank loans to start their own enterprise. Again, people that I speak to today may not believe that this is such a financial challenge, or for that matter, such a financial achievement. But imagine this: in the poorest of the poor families, in small villages, in tier 2, tier 3 towns or urban slums, women who had just about opened their bank accounts create a business plan for themselves and then reach out to their individual bank branches, convince the management of the branch of their business plans, not only receive credit but service it and pay it back. Such was the potential and the promise of enterprise for Indian women that of all the loans given under Mudra Yojana, 70% of those loans were taken by the women of India. And with due respect to all the gentlemen in the crowd that has been kind enough to give me audience today digitally, I must say that the NPA of women who took these loans is less than 2%. As compared to gentlemen who took such loans, the NPA for them now is statistically proven to be above 2.5%. So, India and Indian women evidenced for global economies the true potential of investing in the women of India. Today, banks, after they have studied these programs for a good decade, have come to this, that the bank account that is held by women in India give 12% more revenue as compared to bank accounts held by men. But this was not the only achievement of Indian women. When the Prime Minister of India pronounced a program called Stand Up India, his desire was that the credit access being given to people without collateral should go beyond 10 lakh rupees and go all the way up to 1 crore. Now imagine this: women who had just about started small businesses, small enterprises, now are given an opportunity to leverage their potential, leverage their credit stories, and maybe jump to the next level of success. As a result of this, 80% of beneficiaries under the Stand Up India scheme today are the women of India. But is the financial revolution the only transformation the women of India have been a part of? We all know that the pandemic that came and enveloped communities across the world was a time of test. A test not only of convictions, a test not only of caliber, a test not only of humanity, but a true test of what we as individuals are truly capable of when our backs are to the wall. At such a time where boundaries were shut, when movement had come to a close, over 6 million women in the healthcare facilities of our country went from home to home, person to person, collecting medical evidence so that families and communities during the pandemic could be protected. It is to these women that we owe many a lives in our country. And as a woman, I am proud of their achievements and grateful for their contribution. I don't know how many of you have heard of this story when one of the women who was in the private sector trying to develop the first test kit for the COVID strain, she was actually pregnant and on the precipice of giving birth. Upon completing her entire work and submitting it so that the test kit could go to market, that's when she went and gave birth to her child. Such is the commitment of women of India, especially when confronted by one of the biggest challenges that humanity had to face. Today, In her opening remarks, the lady has been kind enough to speak about my contribution as an administrator, as a politician, as a social activist in India. But how many of you know that in India today, 19 million women serve across administrative posts, both at the center and in the state, right up to the panchayat? These women are the administrative backbone of India. And while we celebrate political potential of women only when they come to office or become members of parliament, members of legislative assemblies, I, as an Indian, truly celebrate the grit of those women who come to office elected in the smallest of panchayats in our country. Today, while we have the largest contingent of women who have been elected to parliament, today, while we celebrate not only in the capital city a female chief minister, let us also doff our hat to 1.5 million women who serve in our panchayats. As I speak to you about the political potential of women, let me remind you we are but one that nation that has also passed the 33% reservation for women in the Indian Parliament. And as we speak, the commander, the supreme commander of the Indian Armed Forces, the president of India, is the first woman from a tribal community to be elected to one of the highest constitutional posts in our country. But what of those women who create a financial revolution, a revolution amongst communities at the grassroots? There are many who have always spoken about the true potential of women economically when they are a part of industry, when they are part of the financial and the banking sector, when they are part of the scientific community. There is one more reality not many may have heard of. In India today, 90 million women work through self help groups. Every year, they create a volume of business to the quantum of $36 billion dollars in the grassroots economies of India. Of the Treasury of India, over 8 lakh crore rupees have been given as credit support to these women. And again, the NPA for women in this segment of our economy is insignificant, thereby demonstrating that women in my country, in our country, have not only been economically prudent, but also from a perspective of economic productivity, have done wonders. Today, when you look at women and their entrepreneurial prowess, not only do we celebrate women in our self help groups, not only do we celebrate women in our academia, not only do we celebrate women in administration, but we also celebrate women who, in everyday walk of life, help bring communities closer and make our communities safer. In the introductory remarks, there was a conversation, albeit a small one, about me being the minister gender. For the first time in the history of our country, we created a digital platform called Poshan Tracker, wherein 1.4 million nutrition centers, which are serviced by 2.2 million women frontline workers, came together to service 100 million beneficiaries, of which 25 million are pregnant and lactating mothers, and 75 million are children below the age of 6. This is the world's largest nutrition program, which began in India and is today technologically serviced. Many of us in India can celebrate many such achievements. But the true potential of India and Indian women is yet to be fully unleashed. Today, while we rib each other about the potential of Indian women, we say, look at our space programs. If you have to go to the dark side of the moon, or for that matter, need somebody to lead the mission to Mars, you will find a woman at the helm of affairs. So, as I come to a close of my short remarks, let me say this. When you think innovation, think of the Indian woman. When you think enterprise, think of the Indian woman. When you think of academic potential, think of the Indian woman. And when you think of the quintessential caregiver, think of the Indian women. Our story is not only the story of a new India. We have enveloped for centuries in our arms communities, families, building person by person, state by state, a resilient economy, a resolute people. I hope that I can have an interface and interaction with you in the coming months so that any query, any questions you have about India, Indians, and particularly Indian women is a deliberation I can be personally a part of. I again express my gratitude for the grace that you have shown me in absentia. Look forward to a conversation which is robust, lively, and that'll leave you wanting more to know about my country, my people, India. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, Smriti ma'am. While we deeply missed your presence in person, your words were just as inspiring and impactful virtually. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we will certainly take you up on that offer for an interactive session maybe in Delhi sometime. So thank you.
Look forward to it. Thank you.